Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast from your host, ImperialDane, Master Propaganda Hero, Strike Defender of the Fatherland. We're off here to an exciting 1 vs 1 on Holot Nifema Winter. Between the West, we got the one, the only, the ImperialDane, fighting here for the Soviet Union, Socialism, the 3rd Guards Mechanized Corps versus these. We got Del, fighting for the Oberkommando West, Germany, Deutschland, the 5th SS Panzerdivision Viking. And we're looking at Elite Armored Overwatch and Special Operations here for Del, with Triple Infantry versus Urban Defense, Shock Rifle and Guard Rifle here for me, with Infantry, Half-Track and Mine Bulletins. Volksgrenadier Kubank here for Del, also looks like he's heading aggressive for the centre. I'm going for a Special Ride Command with Conscript Start, that way you get a bit of early infantry. But versus the Oberkommando West on smaller maps, I tend to prefer the Penal Troopers, since it becomes a lot harder, I feel, to make full use of the conscript's advantages on smaller maps, where things can get a lot more crowded very quickly, and the opponent can thusly so much easily focus them down. Thusly, I tend to prefer Penal Troopers on maps like this. You got Bartwire going up here in the centre, Conscript moving up here just in case, you know, he tries to rush for here again. You get the compartment here. This is going to get a lot more trickier. So moving down there to grab the munitions point. Also laying down sandbags just in case, so I can grab it more safely. While around the truck there, folks are standing about here, and we got a cool one here south here for Del, with another Volksgrenadier squad on the way. Del was around the top 200, I believe. Close to top 100 maybe, can't quite remember now. Played those on a bit ago. Penal Troopers there arriving for me, the Strafniki with SVT-40 semi-automatic rifles. Sturmpanier versus Penal Troopers there, moving up straight for it. Quickly taking a few hits with the SVT-40 semi-automatic rifle. And go Fox Occupant Husbands. He's sort of pressing up pretty aggressively against me, and in this case I'm just going to grab the point and going to fall back. I believe there's not much point in trying to fight this engagement. That's just going to be a waste of manpower long term. I thought, oh, there we go, I pulled back. He suffered one loss, but overall again, not really engagement that's going to favour me. I'm not going to gain anything from it. It's just going to be a long time there to deal with it, and then I just lose. So better just try and avoid and deal with what you can actually deal with. And that's sort of the compartmentalization of threats is never bad. Emod consequences around here, might transfer flank behind, get behind here, force Del to retract from the front line to react. Quick counter attack here to with the foot goes out in the opening as he pushes my cut off point, which I probably should react with more aggressively. Quick few hits there before then disengaging. So Del here going in rather aggressively. There we go, Conscripts flanking up behind Del here. Second Penal Squad right there we go, moving up to deal with the Sturm Pioneers, so these have already suffered some losses from the Volksgrenadiers here. Overall chose the wrong path to disengage through here, that way exposed myself to that fire, but we got the Sturm Pioneers on the run, and there we go, just moving towards this cut-off point. Of course, without the victory point in the centre, it's not going to mean too much, so obviously it's not fully perfect, the manoeuvre there. We got the point there up secured, no mines, and units moving ahead. Sturm Pioneers on the retreat there for Del and the 5th SS. And there you go, Volks versus Conscripts here, more Volks moving from the north, and I just decided to pull them back just a bit. By time. Volks is now a bit further isolated, with a 3rd Penal Squad there available, if I choose to go for it. Now going down towards here. Bit more aggressive this time around, but this time I can actually get into heavy cover and can sort of engage and develop him, also maybe sort of threatening his retreat path, and maybe getting a wipe there. Maybe. Bit risky though. Could try for a satchel charge here, and overall should actually treat these Penal Troopers with their too low on health. They might need to draw away fire though from the other squad, which should of course allow these to just do more damage without taking any. And there you go, you actually decide to try and focus it down here, which protects this one further. Comes to their round to further threaten the flank. Engineers moving up here to cover up here further. Punishing any troops to try to run to the 8 of this squad now, rather beleaguered. Getting a bit lucky there, seemingly. A lot of shots not really getting in all of a sudden. They go down to 1 man. And go squad on the run, Folks out in the open, being shot at quite aggressively. 3rd Penal Squad they're arriving, others back for reinforcement. So there we go. Units continue to do what they can from the flank, dropping poor Heinz there like a sack of wet potatoes. Conscripts falling back, Penal Squad engaging, there we go, moving up to the other bit of cover here. Overall I'm just sort of trying to harass and just keep them occupied at some points. And there you go, pressing onwards here. Had this been Conscript, obviously things would have been less amazing, but again, forget the Penal Troops up close, they can do a lot of damage. There versus the Volksgrenadiers. Got the Kubank support on the south, that's not going to help the Volks here too much. Or apparently it will. Our 8 troops, they're good to go to push forwards again for the Rodina. And there you go, engineers coming the retreat path, and there we go, actually wiping one of his Volkswagen squads. Bit of a loss there for Dell, actually. Bit of a loss. He is taking up, though. But still losing that Volkswagen squad will hurt him a bit there. That will certainly hurt him a bit. And so it also highlights just the value of just having units roaming about, you know, on the retreat paths. You know, increases your chance of just getting something killed. But again, aggressive tactics from Dell overall, trying to pressure me again, keep me sort of discomforted. And of course, more guessing as to what he's doing. He's going here for the battle group headquarters, by the way, not pushing for mechanized regiment that looks, which could indicate a fast tech up in this case, maybe. I've got 3 penal super squads and 1 conscript squad. Could open up for a few strategies, but none of them really sort of segment well with this. To an extent, they could, for example, go for urban defense, maybe. But that'd be more if he went for a forward battle group headquarters. I pretty much just have that doctrine there in case they go for a forward battle group headquarters. I could just use urban defense to counter that with a forward headquarters. Nothing screws over forward battle group headquarters like a forward headquarters, the proper one there from the Soviets. In particular, back in the early days of the Oberkommando West, that was pretty much the counter to it. You just plopped it right down next to them and it just ruined their day. Guard Rifle could also go for that, and more conscripts would really gain the advantage of it. So Shock Rifle is probably one of the better choices. With the Shock Troopers, the Incendiary Barrages, for dealing with anti-tank weapons, support weapons, KV-8s, and of course the IS-2. Which again, a lot of people don't think is pretty good, but I actually think this IS-2 is still a pretty good heavy tank. But there you go, flanking behind here, quick pan hand grenade against the conscripts. And troops are reinforcing healing, field infirmary up there to help heal troops. And people moving down southwards. I generally put a bit more emphasis on getting it here for some SSOs because of the larger squads, meaning overall it'll be a lot more impactful if you have them, because again they'll just be less combat ready, plus you have to pay them higher costs and reinforcement. As with the Germans, the smaller squads, likelihood of just units being wiped by things tends to, at least in my opinion, mean you're not quite needing a battle group or medic bunker right away, whereas for the Soviets, again, because larger squads means more damage soaked up, you're generally going to need it a lot more. Take up there for the Soviet Union. The SVT-40 semi-automatic rifle, by the way, was an downgraded ABT-36 automatic rifle because, well, it couldn't handle the recoil, so the basis sort of downgraded it to a semi-automatic rifle, which turned out to be pretty good. In fact, it would serve as the basis for the German Gewehr 43 because the Germans couldn't figure out how to make a semi-automatic rifle themselves. So they basically just copied this Soviet SVT-40. So, fun fact there. Well, not fully copied it, but they basically just sort of copied the idea, made into their own rifle. But there you go, quick self-charge against the machine gun crew. Pushing right around from the Stravniki. Kuvan making the penals a bit occupied, but overall sort of spreading out more aggressively, pushing in here and there. Caring for their Sturmpanzers forces. A lot of assault rifles in there, they just full retreat, there's no point in finding that. Tank v tank commander up, they could go for a half check, could also try and set up for the T-70. Kuvan moving up here, and there we go. Volkswagen standing about, then a pile of dead Russians with more assault rifles on the way there for Dell. No other player has yet to really aim for a doctrine as of yet, though. Push up here, quick pan hand grenade off, and they actually run into it. I said run out of the fire, not into it, you idiots. Troops are healing, reinforcing, half check on my way there, so it's like going to try and take up the Schwerpanzer quarters soon enough. Sturmpioniere here, there's the Volkswagen it is, but not Sturmpioniere, penal troopers. They're out in the open though, low on health, so they're going to have to retreat pretty soon there. In the south, the country's making good progress there for the motherland. There we go, we got both penal troop squads there now fully reinforced and healed up. Good to go. The pressure, the fascists. Dell, though, overall maintaining good aggressive posture, hitting here and there, making it hard for me again to sort of lock down any area against him. Also quick to upgrade his troops for the assault rifles. Overall making them a lot harder for my infantry to handle under the right circumstances. T-7 light taking away from me to help counter all of this. I want something rapid and fast, and I just want to save up the munitions for other things, so thusly I end up going here for the T-70. Could have gone for the half-track, though saved me fuel, but in this case I prioritized, I believe, saving munitions. I can't quite remember why. Been about a while since I played this match. Penals was out there being suppressed by the MD-34, decent positioning. You could, do it better though by setting up some sandbags maybe around here next to the victory point like that. That way you can't have your opponent use it and you can sort of cover much better. Whereas this one sort of is a bit more flaky, risky. And there you go. Shock rifle, grenades, of course, munitions there, but also the incendiary artillery barrage. And there you go. Schwerer, Panzer headquarters setting up here. Third time flat down the bit of the truck. The Germans all mounted flat guns and a lot of things. Usually trucks, half-tracks, and the occasional car. Actually, the 2 centimeter flak, of which several I believe are used in North Africa. Possibly also elsewhere. The T7, they're good to go with its 45mm gun. Attacking straight up the centre like a complete putz. Of course, never considering my opponent already has like Kednef, and there you go, spotted in sort of time, but still, that was not the most well-advised assault there by me, to be honest. At the same time as all this is happening, I'm actually building up a fuel cache because I have decided I want an IS-2. Obviously, going for the shock rifle. You're not going to go for the shock rifle. You at some point plan an IS-2 in most cases. Or each point, of course, as I usually say, if you're planning that, you build a fuel cache. Maybe 2. So obviously, I'm building a fuel cache just for that. Plus, of course, the fuel cache here has a second benefit, which is it makes it a lot harder for him to hit my cutoff point here, which, of course, as we've seen, Dell loves to do that. And again, sensibly so. So if your opponent likes you at a cutoff point a lot of times, you know, it is usually not a bad idea to consider upgrading it with a fuel cache or munitions cache if you really need munitions, so that way protect against harassment. Got a bit lucky there. Constant flank behind, push back by Kednef. And of course he's trying to clear up the fuel cache, but it's going to take him a lot of time. Moving in the T-70 back, since I know that Kednef is no longer around, so he can just deal with his infantry with the T-70 a lot more comfortably. Maybe get another wipe there against Dell, who is not replacing any of his infantry losses. That's actually a bit of a strategic error there by Dell. Of course, he might be planning Oberstdorf from the Schwer punted quarters, which would not be a bad idea, but still, Jenny wants them. There was also a bit of deep snow there. I mean, that is occasionally some of the maps still deep snow about. They removed most of it, but there's still bits of it here and there. Just small bits of deep snow on the maps, but they didn't quite, get around to sort of fully fixing it. Cool wagon there, and there we go. We got Oberstdorf for Dell and the 5th SS Panzerdivision Viking. The fuel cache half health, but still did the job, protected my fuel income, and of course gives me more fuel. Lastly, it serves 2 purposes, which is not bad for 200 manpower. More engineers on there to help repair stuff, but also build things. Going for the southern victory point there. Dell overall almost got 500 victory points versus me with only 376. Again, the overall aggression there served Dell quite nicely for the most part. T-70 light tank almost good to go. I can't have any Norfolks. One of the reasons the T-70 got made overall was basically it was a simple design they couldn't make in time, due to the whole, Operation Barbarossa and the loss and suffer there. They just sort of decided to lock down on a few designs they could just sort of make in decent numbers, and the T-70 was one of the few tanks that actually got through that one. They discontinued several other tanks which did not really sort of live up to those builds, and even cancelled some designs. Like, for example, they're actually planning and modernising the T-34 and 6 with better armour and the likes, but because, again, they just need to prioritise building a lot of T-34s and couldn't, afford to have to retool the entire assembly for that, they actually just scrapped that project. So that's a fun fact there. There you go, quick incendiary barrels here in the centre to quickly push back his infantry. Maybe also catch the Kednef. And got the entire catches on fire, turning into an inferno. And the south Pum's in a bit of trouble. That's basically there what I was sort of planning up saying munitions for there. Incendiary barrages. Getting close to being up a mechanised armour company. It's being fixed up. Actually, I accidentally might have clicked the fuel cache there instead of the T-70 light tank. All of a sudden, they're launching head-on assault. Gets the cover. The problem is to still attack intervention 3 penal to be squad in heavy cover. But again, nice job there by me. Obviously, very good job of me laying down sandbags. I mean, a lot of people just tend to never consider just sandbagging around the centre victory point. And again, it's just like, oh no, there's barbed wire. Whatever could I do around the central point? And they never panic and say, well, I could just lay down sandbags. I mean, that's what I always do because I always assume the other boss is going to just wire off the truck. So I just lay down sandbags. Does the job. There you go, we got elite armor here for Dell, bring up the best of his panzer crews. Actually, not so much the best there, just better equipment for them in the form of heat rounds. And there you go, another incendiary barrage on the Volkswagen and the MD-34. The MD-34 taking ages, and there you go, burns up horribly. That's the fun of the incendiary artillery barrage. It's a quick barrage, quite cheap, and acts as the potential for wiping units. Again, it's one of those things where I just wonder why more people aren't going for shock rifle, because shock rifle is kinda good still. It's obviously just sort of been forgotten with all the M4C Shermans and the likes, but shock rifle is shockingly good. Mines up here to help sort of deal with his infantry a bit. Of course, I'm going to be a bit of trouble there because he's got a Panzer IV and I have Zip in the dealing with a Panzer IV department. I have no anti-tank weapons, and the best I can do is actually rush out an S-26 at the moment to counter, because again, doctrinally, I have nothing there. Tech-wise, again, the S-26 is all it. I don't have support from company air. I don't even think I've got anti-tank grenades, so I'm actually managed to particularly park myself in a pretty bad spot versus Dell in that regard, and that's actually a strategic blunder of quite some size by me. Quite the strategic blunder. So I will likely be very deservedly punished for that. But meanwhile, they're taking up fast with a mechanized armor company. Mines up north. So instead I'm going to try and rush out some kind of armor there. In this case, I'm getting lucky that Dell is not pushing his Panzer IV very hard. Of course, he might be thinking, I've already got anti-tank defenses. He does know I don't. So he wanted to push his Panzer IV really, really hard now. I could actually be in a lot of trouble. I mean, I do have mines here and there, but, you know, nothing could just severely hit the Panzer IV. So we'll have to see if Dell hits upon that understanding, or if he just sort of takes it more cautiously. Quick bun hunt going against the MG34 there, which I pilfered from him, pushing it out. Again, we can see here Dell is playing his Panzer IV very cautiously. Doesn't help, of course, he doesn't have infantry support for it, which he definitely should. But there you go, mechanized armor company. I'm going to go for the S-85 tank to sort of help counter it. Pimples out in the open, getting shot to bits there by the Orbital Dart and the Panzer IV. Orbital Dart, by the way, was a rank in the German army, I believe, somewhere around after private, or sort of high private. I can't remember the ranking there, but sort of around private under corporal, I believe. So little fun fact there. It wasn't uncommon though for the German army by 1944-45 to just put the best units in a division, for example, together to sort of form a more elite unit within that. That's in fact a pretty common thing. Not quite on paper, but it was sort of more or less formalised. We got an S-85 there on the way though, almost done, halfway. Meanwhile, just trying to keep him away elsewhere, trying to get some of his other units, for example, push out for example, full squad there rather on its own. Aiming there for a wipe with the T-70. And we can see that sort of overall Dell is slowing down a bit against me again, despite having a Panzer IV, despite having the advantage. He's not leveraging it very well against me, which is certainly something that's great for me because it gives me more time. And there we go, time to bring up the S-85 tank destroyer. So there you go, to attack against the MG34 with the Panzer IV. Sturmpioneer Servetri Freebauer, not bad, getting suppressed by the MG34 inside the house. Noting that Dell hasn't actually been mining a lot against me. Again, weapon moving up, S-85 tank destroyer moving ahead, and shoots. Penetrates the Panzer IV's frontal armour. Bit of skirmish there between penal troopers and full Skanadira. Conscripts and Strafniki advancing there, goes another academy if they're scurrying away. Still, Dale is overall doing a good job. They're still sort of pushing me back, but as you can see there, at the same time, he's sort of losing a bit of his momentum. And I'm going to use this to push out my tank destroyer. A bit there, trying to pursue here. T-centering up northwards. But again, he's pulled back. His Panzer IV is clearly worried about my tank destroyer. Flanking zone is going to be tricky, and in this case, I basically just push ahead to destroy his fair-punted quarters. I mean, in this regard, you know, you have to be careful about how you position your fair-punted quarters. Because, again, an aggressive and driven opponent will try to destroy it. Because, again, it protects some territory, but also means if he destroys it, in this case, if I destroy it, I pretty much ruin your ability to bring up more tanks easily, and for that matter, you know, better infantry as well. So, in that regard, you know, it can usually serve as quite a blow there. Plus, of course, it's expensive to replace. So, it's generally something you want to be careful about. In particular, in this case, it's just very much easily accepted. It covers a large territory, which is, you know, good for him, but it's also very exposed. So, that's sort of the double-edged sword here. And now he's kind of being beaten with the, you know, end of it. That's bad. Almost got it though. People are getting a bit too close, getting slaughtered here actually. Some excellent hits from the 300 quarters, but it does get taken out here, and I basically cover up the retreat here with an incendiary artillery barrage as well. Right here though, he actually has a chance, I think, to rush my S-85 with blitzes and sort of pushes ahead. and gets behind it, but he doesn't actually. In fact, I even pop trafficking hits just so he can't just creep up on it. And there you go, he does blitz, but instead of trying to get past it fast, he sort of goes, I think, too deep there. Calling in a Sturmtiger instead. Almost getting the Panther 4 there. Almost got virtually 2 on the Issue 5 as well, which is actually bad for him and the Sturmtiger, which arrives there. So the Panther 4 does escape, but nonetheless, that Schwer Panther's quarters is quite a loss. Plus, of course, he did feed my Issue 5 tank destroyer quite a bit of experience, which again is also not good. Quick also on flank there by Del, nicely executed there. Also got the Sturmtiger moving up straight up here for the front. Straight for the MG34, I need to retreat. Oh dear. He's trying to shoot here. I think he's trying to get the Issue 5. That does not work out, and the Issue 5 and fails to hit the Sturmtiger. And tracking again. Another one of those abilities which is a bit underestimated. Again, it's basically, you know, like this, except you can actually, you know, move with it easily. But there you go. He gets the T-70 though with the Sturmtiger, but he lost the Orbital Done squad, and they dropped the MG34, which is pretty good for me. My God, Petrov, it feels like I'm good with this thing. I don't know how the Germans do it, but it feels like I could actually hit something. You sound like a fascist, Petrov. You sound like a fascist. I do not know what you do. Also, I would like you to call me Friedrich from now on. Could in theory call in some shock troopers here. The T-34-6 I think would also be an excellent choice. Then again, I might just try and play for the IS-2 right now. Maybe the slightly spare punted quarters. If I go for another fuel cache, I could push ahead. The Sturmtiger and the Panther 4 a bit of a problem, but if I handle my IS-5 well enough, I should be able to just stall them and keep them at bay. Though, of course, it's going to require a bit of sensible handling on my side, which will certainly be a bit of a determining factor. Of course, the engineers with a light machine gun certainly don't hurt either. Quick hit from the northern victory point. Got that Panther 4 moving ahead. Infantry support there. He's going for more Fultz Grenadiers now since he can't replace them with Obersoldaten and the ones he lost. North there, Punic versus Fultz Grenadiers here. Veteran 5 versus Veteran 2. Quick satchel charge there. When he pulls away, it gives my Punic a few free shots there at his Fultz Grenadiers. And there goes second fuel cache. Again, I got plenty of manpower. And I want that IS-2 as fast as possible. So in this regard, you know, going for second fuel cache there, it doesn't hurt. Again, it ensures I have more fuel. So that way, push faster for the IS-2. And in this regard, you know, speed is quite vital. So all of a sudden, I go from getting like 30 extra fuel per 10 minutes to going for like 60. Which again should assist in getting up the IS-2 faster. Of course, I have to be careful with my support weapons here around the Sturmtiger. A lot of players don't like to go for it because again, it can be something, you know, difficult to deal with if you don't spot it in time, because all of a sudden you just rock it and then your stuff is dead. Certainly, there's been an increase in Oberkommand versus players relying on it. To that way, you just sort of cause heavy attrition against the opponent. It's like a rocket sniper that just wipes entire units. Certainly tiresome to have to deal with. Very tiresome. Kubang with Fultz comes there, attacking Norfolks. Oberleutnant Fritz ordering as he drives the car. Shoot some harder! How do you shoot some harder, Oberleutnant Fritz? By pulling on the trigger harder. That's the way. And there go the Ober engineers. Push back the Fultz Grenadiers. A lot of manpower there. Can in theory go for third fuel cache, but I feel that'd be excessive. At this stage, you might better off going for some shock troopers or something else. Just, you know, push harder until they get out the IS-2 there, the Josef Stalin 2 tank. Meanwhile, Del does seem taking up. He might be aiming for a King Tiger next, going for the mechanized regiment. Got the Storm Team moving here, and there you go. I make actually a big mistake. I'm actually moving my pimps right next to the machine gun as I'm moving my other big target towards another big target. Right as I know there's a Sturmtiger, and that cost me, as you can see there, pretty badly. That is what you call a massive tactical error by me. I mean, that was just huge for him. That was just huge for Del. He just wiped the veteran 3 Punic squad and a stolen machine gun. That felt really bad for me, but that was also very well deserved. That was really dumb. So there you go. That was really dumb. I cannot express enough how dumb that was by me. And there you go. This Sturmtiger is going to be off for some time now. Fresh Strafniki arriving as well to push forwards for the motherland. And I'm getting really close here to the IS-2. Moments away. Got the Strafniki moving against the Volksgunners. We've got more arriving here to support though. Though we got more people to support the less veteran ones. And here in the south we got Volksgunners sneaking up. They're close to the IS-2 now. Just a matter of seconds. Just a matter of seconds. And there we go, the IS-2 heavy tank is ready for the front. So there we go, quickly adding the Pentelmauer and Diska machine gun there. Got the Orbital Engineers advancing with some regular engineers. Support weapons coming in the centre. Less than 300 points left, and there you go. Fox is pushed back here by the IS-2. He realises he's not against a really big tank, much bigger than his own. Shoots, almost gets the MG-34 there. Of course, a trick to using the IS-2 with as much effect as possible is to remember not constantly moving about. So tanks like Wehrmacht tanks suffer a bit of a penalty to hitting things on the move. Again, 50% accuracy. And again, a lot of people just like to drive out their tanks and keep shooting, which means obviously they tend not to hit the broadside of a barn. And again, if you remember that, you will generally find your tanks are a lot more accurate, in particular versus infantry. So there you go, Panther. He even popped heat rounds there, and then he pulls back. I don't know. That feels like a bit of a waste there to me, to be honest, here by Dell. I mean, he does have the munitions to spare, but, you know, it's still 45 munitions that could have been, you know, used at a better time. Plus, there's also the match of the cooldown, so it's a lot less efficient that way. Orbital Engineers here as the Kubelwagen. As my notice, they're actually damaging the Kubelwagen there. Quickly pops us a Panther 4 hit. Only there you go to get flanked by the IS-2, except the IS-2 didn't quite hit there because it was moving. Now let it stand still. It fails to penetrate the frontal arm of the Panther 4. Bit of bad luck there, but he quickly goes in with the Sturmtiger, going to try and catch the IS-2, but there you go, takes it from the Issue-5, takes it from the IS-2, fails to hit it, and the mine he laid down previously goes off against the Sturmtiger, they're damaging his engine. In theory, I could actually take it out there, but I get too preoccupied with the advancing infantry to actually fail to seize upon this opportunity. I don't even think I'm aware that the engine is damaged on it. Still infantry out in the open there, quick retreat in the face of the IS-2. A massive behemoth of steel and violence. Got a lot of Volksgunners bunched up there. A nice perfect target for the IS-2 as it quickly moves ahead there for the motherland. Catching that in the open, there we go, setting them running. Also got some mines there, so that way make it hard for them to creep up through their element. Both fuel caches still remain, which of course allow me to quickly go for T-34s. So of course, even once it got the IS-2, the fuel caches also serve to just further allow me to bring up more equipment faster to support that IS-2. So in that regard, the fuel caches just keep on, you know, benefiting me. And there you go, machine guns crew almost brought up the IS-2. A Kennefer right in front of it. And there you go, wiped by the IS-2. Pimps versus Volksgunners there. T-34 is almost done. Landing a decent hit there. Almost veteran one on that IS-2. Those drums on the sides, by the way, they are fuel drums to help increase range. They would normally be empty by the time they hit the battlefield. Of course, if they weren't, that'd be a lot of problems, since they'd then be burning fuel into the engine, which tends to be the end of a tank. Which is why Molotovs were so effective, because pop those into the engine, but again, you pretty much just burned out the entire tank for the most part. Truck standing about there. IS-2 starting with a Sturmtiger, bit risky move by there for me, to be honest. Only the Issue-5 was almost there. And right here, realising a bad spot, I tried to hit the IS-2 to avoid. And looks like he was actually aiming for me to pull back the IS-2. So in that regard, I made the right call there. Almost got the Sturmtiger there. They've got the Panther 4 Ryan. We got Satchel charge off there, doesn't land quite well. And actually ends up damaging the engine, I think was the Panzerfaust. That was the Panzerfaust there. Instead, you're bouncing down the support element around the mechanized regiment, pulling back the IS-2 here, almost losing it. He's firing up support here, very low on health. And in this regard, I make a quick call with my T-34. Nice shot bounces, he rounds over north. And then I actually decide to ram it just in case it tries to push ahead, trying to destroy my IS-2. You know, he couldn't decide he couldn't get away anyway, so, you know, he might try it. So in this case, I basically just decide to make 100% sure he can't get the IS-2 because the T-34 is a lot more replaceable than the IS-2. I'm going to lose the T-34, but had I lost the IS-2, I'd obviously been a lot worse off. So again, looking at it that way, I'm reasonably confident that was the best move. But again, he probably also popped the heat rounds to click. But they did do a lot of damage there to the IS-2, and again, that's why, you know, heat rounds are actually also pretty good there. Honestly, for your Panzer IVs, they actually do a lot for them, even Panthers, obviously. But a lot of players tend to neglect them. In fact, they only go for the doctrine for the Sturmtiger, when in reality they probably should be going for it for the heat rounds, then sort of more, as a side note, consider the Sturmtiger. I do wish they'd do something about the Panzer Commander. It's not a very good upgrade at the moment. He's actually setting up another Schwer Panzer quarters, but no, it's further behind. I'm also surprised he's going for it. I would have figured at this stage he'd actually aim for a King Tiger. But for whatever reasons, Dell feels like that's just too far off and actually goes for the Schwer Panzer quarters here. Meanwhile though, hard work repairing up the IS-2 heavy tank. Catching the MD-34 crew out in the open. One of the first encounters with the IS-2 tank by the Germans, I believe, was by Otto Carriers, who caught a bunch of them though when they were standing still and not crewed, at which point he just proceeded to knock out as many as he could before they actually became operable. Little fun fact there. There were, I think, two major models of the IS-2. There's the early model, which I believe had some issues with the frontal armor, specifically the glacis there. There were some faults with it, which made it very easy for German tanks to penetrate around there. There's the second model, which sort of fixed that out. There's also the IS-3, but that one really didn't see action on the Eastern Front. Might have seen some action in Manchuria. They just steamrolled the Japanese, who couldn't do anything against it. But there goes Shock Troops pushing forward, he's sweeping out his support weapons there with the PPSH-41s. Second Schwer Panzer Corps. If it's actually again surprised me, I would have figured he would be going for a King Tiger by now. That would be, you know, the standard move for a lot of Royal Commandos players. But Dell here clearly did not care for that. Gotta respect him for that, I suppose. Though he's going to have to go for Yak Panzer and equipped with heat rounds, so there's a chance that it's the IS-2. And certainly Yak Panzer with heat rounds would not be a bad choice to counter some of the armor I've got. Of course, the issue is just I can easily bring up more tanks. We got the Sturmtiger there being repaired, up north points being secured by the Strafniki. And the IS-2 pulling back towards the central wall reserve position. Basically, I like to position my arm in such a way I can easily react with some alacrity to attacks either here, or even in the center. So that's sort of one thing I sort of operate with, that is tactical reserves. That way I can sort of, you know, more easily react and not place my most valuable units right in the front line. Where some people just tend to place the tanks right in the front. They can easily be targets. Pushing with an all victory point. There you go. We do get a Yak Panzer there for Dell of the 5th SS. IS-2 rolling hit. They're very close to Epsilon 2. T-3476 number 2 on the way as well for me. Shoots. And go get some kills there with the pinback machine gun. Gets another kill. Doesn't quite wipe the foe. It's going to be a squad out. So rolling back the IS-2. There we go, T-3476 arriving. Fun fact, I believe they actually tried making some T-34s after the war that used the same gun as the IS-2, that is 122mm guns. That did not work out, by the way. The guns were simply too big and too impractical. Kuwang down there in the south, another loss there for Dell. Who's now the one heavily bleeding out victory points compared to me initially, but there you go. Another hit there from the H-35 and the Sturmtiger. I'm moving south, let's help defend the south. We got an MD-34 crew moving in for it. There we go, landing some nasty hits against machine gun crew and wiping it in a matter of seconds. Continue to assault here through the centre. Sturmtiger Jagdpanzer there covering up close with the squads as they push forwards. Bit of a rough formation there by Dell. Flanks by the exposed. In this case, I attack head on because I worry about mines through here. Of course, I then proceed to make another mistake, which is I roll the T-34 first and then follow up the IS-2 at a easy to deal with pace, allowing it to take a massive hit there. That was, by the way, the second big blunder for me this match. Yeah, T2 and the IS-2 right before it gets knocked out. Jagdpanzer to the body did not pop heat rounds. He'd done that. He probably could have more easily gotten the IS-2 there. Still, incendiary barrels called down here around the Sturmtiger to deal with infantry supporting it, including like Kedenaffer. They should fire down to a good hit there. IS-2 trying to pull back. There you go, gets knocked out by like Kedenaffer. T-34 gets knocked out. So I suffered some heavy losses there in it. Well, quite frankly, pointless, man. And again, that was not a very well executed assault there by me. It had many flaws. But there you go, contesting the centre victory, pointing with the shock troopers, quick grenades, and those fascists running away. Northern point guarded by penal troops. In the south here we got the ND-34. And that we got GG there from Dell. We should find Veteran C3.
We have taken the enemy down to 50 points.
At this point, there's obviously not a lot left for Dell to do. He's still got the Sturmtiger, but he can't really use it to support anything. He can't sustain much. And resource-wise, I'm just too far ahead of him. Plus, of course, victory point-wise, he's just too far behind. There you go, another T-34-76. The hero of the Soviet Union H-35 tank destroyer crew. On the lookout, in case any H-35s try to creep ahead again. Now that he gives up, a victory here for the motherland, the Rodina. In terms of damage, kills wise are actually pretty close, which is good for me actually. As a Soviet, you actually get equal kills, you're usually doing pretty well damage wise. I'm slightly ahead of him actually. So that sort of overall was a pretty brutal fight here. Some aggressive play again. Dell initially starting out well, but couldn't quite sustain it. And, you know, placing his spare punch calls out too easily exposed, I think was a big mistake by him, allowing me to actually quickly destroy it with the H-5 and lastly actually gain ahead in terms of tech and armor. Had it not destroyed it, I'd probably not been trying to play for the IS-2 like I did. I'd just probably gone for more T-34s, maybe then stalled for it. But again, he didn't. And he also went for the Sturmtiger, which ultimately really only did a lot of things when I actually allowed him to, which is a bit unfortunate on my side. As to whether it was a good choice or not, harder to say. He could have done more with the heat rounds in his arm and certainly should have flanked more in that regard. I think Dell also got two folks in the centre trying to attack head on rather than trying to catch me off guard, you know, with some bigger assaults there. So there are definitely some issues there where sort of just trying to attack him, then pressure him, catch him off guard. But certainly I think this match sort of shows the power of shock rifles. Still, you know, shock troopers still reasonably good. Incendiary artillery barrages are still really good, and the IS-2 is also still pretty good, unless you do like me and you just patch it away. But still, overall good match. Of course, also displaying, you know, the power of just hanging for your fuel caches made it a lot harder for him to harass me and sort of cut me off. So there you go. Also, big thanks to William for donating and supporting the Propagandacast. Most appreciated, William. And of course, if you'd like to support the Propagandacast and help me, you know, keep doing this, do consider so. There are links in the video description to Patreon or PayPal. You can sort of do that and support me, since that would help me out a lot, by the way. Anyways, if you liked it, subscribe, like, share, and comment on it. This is ImperialDane. Cheers. Thank you all for watching. Hope to see you all tomorrow for another Sonic episode. Bye.